My friends, when I say that a movie studio is going to be making a video game adaptation, do you cringe? Because if you do, I can't blame you. As of late, a lot of movie industries has been taking video games and adapting them into movies or TV shows. And while we have a lot that do work really well, like The Last of Us or the Sonic movies, we also get a lot of mega stinkers like the Halo TV show, which I'll never forget Paramount Plus for, because they're basically smearing this crap all along our walls with a franchise that is very beloved, which has made me skeptical for whenever a studio decides to say, hey, we're going to be making a video game adaptation, and you should be skeptical too, because not every studio does a good job for it. I mean, especially when it comes to a big named franchise like Halo, for example. Because the main thing is that we, as gamers, want these studios to pay respects to the title and make sure that they bring the essence of the video game to the show. Again, I will use Halo as an example, where the creators or the showrunners were proudly stating that they've never played the game, which honestly feels like that was a major impact to its downfall. Coupled with bad writing and poor acting at times, it really bogged the series down as a whole, and that's underplaying it, because that show, in my opinion, is a travesty across both seasons. But that's a different topic. Today we're talking about Fallout, because Amazon decided to make a Fallout TV series about another big title, which I'm an appreciator of. I'm not a mega fan of the game, but I have played Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas, Fallout 4, and I have enjoyed every single one of those. But as soon as Amazon mentioned that they were making a Fallout TV series, I was kind of like, okay, let's see where this goes. And after having watched all 8 episodes, I can comfortably say that this was a pretty good TV series. Like, a really good TV series, almost on par with The Last of Us, because there are some moments towards the end that I'm not too with, but still really good overall. And I think the most important thing that makes this show work is the fact that the showrunners really knew how to bring general concepts of what makes a TV show good, sprinkled in with the specificities of Fallout. And I will be getting into those because that's what's important about the show. So we'll start with the general stuff, and then we'll work our way down towards the specific parts of what makes Fallout Fallout. First off, costume design. Freaking fantastic. It doesn't look goofy at all. It doesn't look like cheap costume design from Party City. Everybody looked like how it would probably look from a video game standpoint to real life, from the Vault Dwellers to the Dirty Wastelanders to even the ghouls looked freaking great. And in my opinion, the power armor looked crazy. I know some people complain that it looks like big and clunky, but I feel like that's kind of the point of the power armor. I mean, you're literally a giant hunk of steel just walking around, so you're gonna have some weight and have maybe jerky moves. The set design too, coupled with the costume design, was just amazing to look at. I mean, from past imageries of Los Angeles back in 2077 before the bombs fell, to after with what it looks like as a wasteland, to the scrap cities that are barely being held together with wood and airplane parts, even the vaults, how intricately designed they look from the different vaults that we see, and the rooms and how they function. Just everything looked absolutely superb. And then the actors as well do their parts so great, from Lucy, our main vault dweller, to the ghoul, like our bounty hunter person. We got Maximus, our brother of steel rep. Even the side characters did an amazing job interacting with our main characters, or even interacting with other side characters too. Just everybody knew what their role was in this series, and I feel did a very good job at doing it. And then finally, the story as a whole. Absolutely great. We start off with a main quest, in a sense. Lucy's father gets kidnapped, and nobody else wants to go and rescue him, so she goes out of her way to do it, and ends up finding her quest by having to deliver an object that would eventually lead to her father's kidnapper. And then we have the ghoul, who is also undergoing somewhat of the same quest for his own personal reasons, but we also look into a bit of the ghoul's backstory, how he used to be a Hollywood actor before the bombs fell, and he was the reason for the Thumbs Up Vault Boy character too, and he had some involvement with Vault Tech, which eventually leads him to distrust Vault Tech, and eventually, when the bombs fell, transformed him into the ghoul that we know throughout the TV show. And then we have Maximus, who, in my opinion, is the weakest out of the trio of main characters that we have in this series, but it doesn't mean he's abysmally bad, don't get me wrong, because he too has the same quest of trying to get this object so he can bring it back to the Brotherhood of Steel. Well, at least that's what he gives himself as an assignment, because he is an underling who eventually takes on the role of a knight in the Brotherhood of Steel because his knight fell due to reasons, and the entire time he basically acts as like a failed soldier for the Brotherhood. He's can't seem to get anything right. He likes watching people suffer around him, especially those who treat him like crap or get things that he covets, like a promotion or armor or a weapon or whatever that may be. And essentially the entire time he doesn't know what to do and thinks so highly of himself that it ends up being his downfall because of the fact that he doesn't know what's going on. Yet despite all his ineptitudes, somehow he gets away with everything, even all the way to the end of the show, which I won't spoil, but somehow all of his failures reward him, and because he gets away by the skin of his teeth every single time. And then straying away from the main story, we have a side story that involves Lucy's brother, Norm, where he's discovering about the secrets of the vault and what exactly is going on within Vault 33 and how it connects with the other vaults around it, and how this mystery of certain people from 31 keep getting elected as their leaders and never anybody from 33, and what's going on in 32 and the secrets of 31. It's an amazing side story, and I think because of the fact that there are essentially 4 stories, with 3 being the main story and then 1 being this offshoot, it's just amazing to me how all 4 aspects of the show are done so well and never detract from any of the parts, keeping me glued to the screen, unlike other shows like the Halo TV show where they can't even get one story right or keep me interested. So that does really well, in my opinion, for the Fallout TV series. And another thing that I wanted to talk about are the amount of references that are in the show. I don't think they're omnipresent or overbearing. I think every single reference that comes from the show is done tastefully. We have very famous quotes that are properly said naturally within a conversation, unlike the Avatar show where they just say things for the sake of saying things. We have noticeable locations that come from the games too, and we even have references to certain weaponry or tools like the stim pack or the junk gun. So never did it feel like these references were just for the sake of fan service. It felt natural. They were there for a reason and not for the sake of, hey, remember this item that you used to use in the game? Well, it's here. No, it never felt like that at all. Well done. And you can't talk about the show without the action scenes, which the ghoul takes every single time. That dude disrespects everybody who is at the other end of his barrel, shooting up whole towns, drowning Lucy in an irradiated river, even shooting a dude straight in his asshole after he already shot him in the chest is just pure disrespect. From the Raiders even to the Brotherhood taking over certain towns, stealth missions like Lucy while she's in Vault 4 sneaking around trying to find the secrets as to why everybody's acting so weird here. They do their best to try and take every single aspect of the game's action and run with it, which leads to my only complaint, which is more of a stylistic complaint rather than just a complaint about the show, is action scenes that involve Maximus. And I understand like why they go the way they go. He's an incompetent soldier, but being unable to shoot properly, getting stuck after he stole power armor, he's just not a good fighter for somebody who is in the Brotherhood of Steel, a faction that is supposed to be badass, and he kind of makes them seem unable to do their job. And that's not just him, because there are other people within the Brotherhood of Steel that really make it seem like it's a babyish faction rather than like the big hulking soldiers walking around and fucking shit up everywhere they go. Now, despite all the praise that I've been giving the show, there are definitely moments that are a bit of a head scratcher. I want to make one thing clear. I've noticed a lot of other people who have talked about the show somewhat talk about how these characters keep meeting up at the same spot every single time. It just happens to be convenient. But there is a bit of a way on how they explain that. The main thing that a lot of people are saying is that Lucy has a tracker in the head, so obviously she knows where it's going. And it's like, okay, yeah, I understand that. And then when it comes to the ghoul, well, he has the dog. Right? Like the ghoul just somehow, but the ghoul still somehow manages to follow, but he's a bounty hunter, so he's able to, maybe, who knows what's going on with that, right? But the dog is there. And then, of course, with Maximus, he has Thaddeus, who has like a radiation gun that's able to follow where the ghoul is going. Now, granted, there are a couple of scenes that are very questionable. And one scene in particular for me that I'm not going to spoil, but it involves the ghoul and the dog, where it makes no sense, at least from what I understand, how the ghoul was able to find the dog in this particular scene. But other than those few moments, that seems to have somewhat of a good enough explanation to not really take me away from the show, but you know, it's still a head scratcher. But with that out of the way, I want to talk more about the actual complaints that I have about the show, my personal ones. You might agree, you might not, but if you do, leave a comment down below. Sex has a huge theme across multiple episodes. I mean, it's not every single one, but they do enough to where it stands out so hard. And when they talk about it, like saying things like, I want you to make my cock explode like a pimple, or even having conversations like, I want to fuck right now. I don't know. Oh, come on, let's fuck. I don't know. It's like, it's so not cool to me. It's very cringy how they're talking amongst one another about these sex themes. Another complaint that I have is that they really like beating a dead horse when it comes to certain dialogue scenes. Like they're hammering down points to the character, but inadvertently they're doing it to us as the audience too. And I'm gonna say a minor spoiler here, so skip ahead. The scene that I'm talking about in particular, because this does happen across other scenes, but the one that really made me go, ugh, was the scene with Knight Titus when he's talking to Maximus while he's dying after having been attacked by a rad bear. And he's pretty much sitting there saying like, you're a piece of shit, dumb fuck, shit for brains, blah, 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 blah. And I had like PTSD about me with my dad just holding the flashlight on the car. And listening to that was just like, dude, it's like a 5 minutes of him just going in on Maximus. And it's like, bro, like if this was cut down to a single minute and then Maximus shot him in the head and then like ended there, it would have been a much more tolerable scene. But instead it was just 5 whole minutes of Knight Titus just saying like, you shit for brains, dumb fuck, this is all your fault. And then Maximus is just staring at him until he passes away from blood loss. So, snooze fest, in my opinion. And then my final complaint about the show, and there are other things, but this is what comes to my mind, is a particular character who, again, spoilers, because if you know anything about the show, you're welcome to watch this, but if you haven't seen it yet, skip ahead, because I'm going to talk about one character in particular that's like, why? And that's Moldaver. Her character starts off really good. We have this mysterious raider bandit leader who came by and kidnaps Lucy's dad, and she becomes an interest of Lucy because she needs to figure out what's going on with this Moldaver person who kidnapped my father. And then we realize that Moldaver has more complexities to her. She is heavily involved in the New California Republic. She is the leader of the last bastion of it at the Griffith Observatory, and turns out there's a lot of people who trust her and view her as this leader. However, her character eventually, in my opinion, devolves from there, because she isn't just some bandit leader. She is somebody who is from the ghouls past, back in 2077. So how is she alive now? She's clearly not a ghoul, because everything is still there. But she also was very avid against Vault-Tec. She expresses how much she hates Vault-Tec and thinks Vault-Tec is going to bring the end to the world. So did she have a cryo chamber? But Vault-Tec had all of the tech for the cryo chamber. So unless if she stuck her way in or had her own through some reason, it's left unexplained how this woman is still alive. She just ends up being so mysterious to the point where her presence makes absolute no sense outside of being a bandit leader who kidnapped Lucy's father. She has a huge past from back in the day, but it seems irrelevant with the sense of, if that's the case, how the fuck are you still alive if you have no means of getting Vault-Tec equipment to have cryo-slept you? And how did you even get out of cryo-sleep unless if you programmed yourself how to get out of it? It's just, her character just ended up being a character of interest to a character that makes absolutely no sense. Now that that's out of the way, I have to say that this show doesn't come without its flaws. They are there, and you can be nitpicky about it, whether if you want to complain about certain action scenes or the romance or certain characters, that is fine. But I feel like that doesn't detract from the show as a whole. There's still so much to it that makes this a Fallout TV series. And that's the beauty of it, because here's the thing. My girlfriend and I watched this. She knows nothing about the games. And there were times where I had to explain some things to her about, like, why is this here? Why is that? But the other thing is, I'm not a lore whore, all right? I enjoy the games, but I'm not somebody who is so invested in it that I was trying to get every single little detail out, so that way, like, I could find whatever enjoyment there was to see if this was a pure Fallout, like, paying respects title. But the beauty of Fallout is that there is no set story, that you could make your own story if you absolutely wanted to. Because unlike The Last of Us, Fallout is very generalized. It has multiple settings and multiple locations across the entirety of the United States, and anybody could make something out of that universe, so long as you're doing your best to keep your timeline straight and utilize the assets that are available within the game and introducing them to the big screen. So you could make a fantastic Fallout TV series based on the stuff from the video games, and I feel like that this show does that very well. So with all the things that I said, good and bad, I could give this a solid 8 out of 10. It is done very well. There are minor hiccups here and there, depending on what you're looking at in the sense of what your interests are from TV shows. But overall, I think it is a great watch and pays a lot of respect to the franchise. Do you agree with my rating for the series as a whole? And was there stuff that I missed, whether it was good, bad, or ugly? Let me know down below. Like the video if you like this video, subscribe to the channel for more content like this. I will catch all of y'all later. Peace.